Welcome to Crosspointe.
Welcome to Crosspointe.
Welcome to Crosspointe.
We are an inclusive faith community
seeking to live out the loving, just, and generous way of Jesus.
We are participants in a long tradition
that's less concerned with doctrines and dogma that demand total agreement,
but a life to be lived, enjoyed, and given away to others.
What unites us is a growing awareness that life is precious.
That we are made by love in order to love.
This community is comprised of and affirms the entire human family.
Regardless of race, age, creed,
physical abilities, marital or economic status,
gender identity, or sexual orientation.
So, if you're curious and have come to see,
if you are tired and have come to rest,
if you are grateful and have come to share,
if you are wounded and have come to heal,
if you're joyful and have come to celebrate,
if you are uprooted and have come to belong,
welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
When they see us, may they see your mercy, your mercy. When they know us, may they know your mercy, your mercy. Of the Lord is the kindness of the Lord. With every breath we take, the gift of life and grace. The power of the Lord is the meekness of the Lord, who bore humanity with brave humility. Let your mercy flow through us, your mercy. Your mercy, let your mercy flow through us. Your mercy, your mercy. The beauty of the Lord is the suffering of the Lord. Is Christ upon the tree, stripped of dignity. The glory of the Lord is the mercy of the Lord, gives life for us to see a new humanity. Let your mercy flow through us. Your mercy, your mercy. Let your mercy flow through us. Your mercy. Let your mercy flow through us. Your mercy, your mercy. Let your mercy flow through us. Your mercy, your mercy. Let your mercy flow through us. Your mercy, your mercy. Let your mercy flow through us. Your mercy, your mercy. Let your mercy flow through us. Your mercy, your mercy. out wide. Take a trip to your dark side. Go on and have a good cry. 'Cause we're all lonely. We're all lonely together. I want to see your sadness. I want to share your sin. I want to bleed your blood, and I want to be let in. Don't you just, don't we all just want to be together? Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. If your face is down, well, take a look around. Do your fingers move? Do your lungs inflate? Are you tired? Are you weary of the hidden hate you've been holding? Did you lose that love, or have you never had it? Are you feeling sad 'cause you did a bad thing? Yeah. Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. Are you feeling fearful, brother? Are you feeling fearful, sister? The only way to lose that fearful feeling, replace it with love that's healing. Are you feeling fearful, brother? Are you feeling fearful, sister? Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind.
Hi friends, I have some really important stuff to get you up to speed about. One, you're loved right now, whoever you are underneath your performance that you put on for gaining and retaining love, you're already deeply loved. I don't know, that seemed like a pretty good announcement, so I thought I'd start with that. Here's some other announcements. Speaking of love and being loved, June 14th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Crosspointe is going to have a booth at Apex's Pride booth. If you'd like to volunteer, please go to crosspointe.org/events/support Pride. There are multiple ways to offer support in addition to the hours of setup and breakdown. So I hope if you are available that you could make yourself available. And if you ordered a Crosspointe Pride t-shirt, those are available for pickup now at the church. Next, I wanted to make sure that you knew about our next Habitat build. We're working with Habitat for Humanity of Wake County, along with several other communities of faith in Southeast Raleigh for local families in need. So we are now recruiting individuals age 16 and older to participate in the build. So now's your chance. No building experience is necessary, so don't exempt yourself because you don't have home construction or handy on your resume anywhere. Plus, lunch is going to be provided. So show up ready to serve and you get lunch out of the deal, as well as the satisfaction of knowing how much you've helped. Registration is required because the space to help out is limited. So go to crosspoint.org/events/Habitat for Humanity Build for more information and then to register. Next, Story Night is almost here. If you've never been, this will be your chance to right that wrong. As we have for several years now, we'll be gathering Tuesday, June 24th at 7 p.m. at Fortnight Brewery in Cary, and we're going to enjoy some live storytelling, this time on the theme of Fuel to the Fire. Many of the stories are already selected. They're incredible. I can't wait for you to hear them. And we're still looking for a couple more stories. So if you think you might have a story from your life that's true, it's personal for you, that might suit the theme, Fuel to the Fire, pitch it to us this week. Go to crosspoint.org and find Story Night on our events page to register and or pitch us a story. And as always, there's no cost to attend, but we do ask that you RSVP so we can prepare the space well. And word to the wise, carpool if you can. There are only so many parking spots. So as you can tell, there are tons of great things to get involved in. Make sure to go to crosspoint.org/summer for the summer calendar. I think I tried to say salamander there, but I think I got out summer calendar. You can find that at crosspoint.org/summer. But if you're around in person on a Sunday, you can pick up a printed copy of the calendar in the main room. They've been custom designed to look fabulous on a variety of refrigerators. Also, and as ever, if you can chip in financially to support all we do in and around our church community, then please do. Everything we do is resourced by the generosity and collaboration of people in this community. As we give our hearts, our time, and our resources to make everything go. So if you haven't gotten involved to financially sustain all that we get to do together, crosspoint.org/contribute will outline how easy it is to do that. So, and reach out if you have any questions about that. Then finally, I have a student ministry announcement, but it's really an everybody announcement. Being in community means both giving and receiving, and it can feel a little uncomfortable to ask for help. So we're offering an opportunity to be on the receiving side of some community care. Our student summer service day is Saturday, July 26th. It's going to run from 9:30 to 11:30 in the morning. And our middle and high school students will, with adult supervision, be serving people in our church community. It can be any need, and the students don't even have to know who they're serving if that's important. This can be a really hard ask, to ask for help like this, because you might think that your needs are too big, but you might also think that they're too small, or I didn't see them on the list, or whatever. So what they're looking for are projects like you'd expect: yard work, light cleaning, organizing spaces, meal prep, small repairs, but then also for those in our community, navigating what might be a quote-unquote invisible need. Like there are real needs associated with chronic pain or mental health challenges, financial strain, life station needs such as pregnancy, parenthood, grief, things that come up in relation to things like that. Again, some of these can be really tricky to raise your hand for and say, hey, yeah, I need help. But whether you need help with something that feels too big or is too insignificant, it matters. So please consider believing that your church believes that enough to reach out. It's important for you, and it's important for our students to learn that the needs that there are for care, kindness, noticing, they don't just exist out there. And if your request ends up being a better fit for Crosspoint's care team of adults rather than the students, we're going to make sure that it gets passed along. And if you're reaching out for somebody else, that's really great of you. Just make sure you have that person's consent first. That goes better for everybody. Again, student teams will be actively serving from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. on Saturday, July 26th. So if you're a student registering, you're an adult that wants to help supervise their serving, or you're somebody requesting help of any kind, go to crosspoint.org/events/summer of service. And in the spirit of talking about all that happens in our high school ministry, here's a video of our current high school seniors talking about what Crosspoint has meant to them over the years. It's a celebration of their experience as they get ready to graduate high school, as much as it's about as good an advertisement for volunteering in student ministry as there can be. So enjoy.
I've been so grateful for all the friendships that I've made throughout the past 7 years from like middle school and high school. I've just made so many great connections with all my friends and long-lasting friendships.
I think one of the main things that I'm grateful for at my time here at Crosspointe has been the overwhelming, it's kind of like amazing to have such great leaders in a community that you feel welcome and you are able to be your full self in. My small group leaders, just adults that I see around the church, and of course our pastors and our youth leaders like JT, they really do set an example for us, and they all the time just help us, they make us want to do better, and that in turn just makes us grow continuously.
One thing that I've learned at Crosspointe is to have a group of people where you can kind of talk with is kind of similar to my last answer, but be able to share anything you really want with them and not be judged or ridiculed, I guess. Just be able to be open and honest with other people.
Something that I've learned through my time at Crosspointe has definitely been keeping an open mind and allowing other people into different groups and into your life, and letting different personalities click in a way, in a group, and just keeping an open mind and an open heart for other people.
Some of my favorite memories about my time at Crosspointe have definitely been retreats. That's kind of where I've gotten the closest with people and felt the most connected with them and with God, and just really found a community. I started going to retreats without actually really having come to Crosspointe very many times, and so it really just kind of got my foot in the door and felt like a really good way to forget about the world for a little while and just really connect.
My favorite memories about my time here at Crosspointe, I loved working and volunteering in Edge and in Kids Point. It's just nice, looking at these kids in the middle schoolers, oh, I remember being that age, and just being able to talk to them, give them advice, help them out. And I just love the life groups at night. I always have so much fun laughing with my friends and my leaders and all the events we did.
Something I've learned from Crosspointe is to lean on others. JT especially, I have recently. Whenever something's bad that happens in your life, tell others, because for the longest time I used to hold it with me, and I learned this year that that you'll feel better if you talk about it with others, and also that you can do things that you don't think that you could have done. I used to think that I couldn't teach people, and I have taught at this point 2-3 people how to run sound system, and I didn't think I could do that. I thought I would have to have someone else do it for me, because I thought I could only execute what I was doing, not execute and teach.
So all the adults who've helped me, I just want to say thank you, because you're dedicating your time for me, and I feel that's really awesome, because you're helping me out, and I'm really thankful for that. And to all my peers, I'm really glad to have met so many cool people and have had so many awesome conversations and just have a good time around everybody. I really appreciate everybody. And yeah, I think this is just a really cool community. I'm glad to have met everybody. Thank you.
I think every few years or so, or at least once a generation, we have an obligation to call something unprecedented times. I'm sure World Wars I and II were called unprecedented times because they were. I'm sure they called it unprecedented times during the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic that infected 500 million and killed more than 50 million around the world. I'm sure both sides claimed unprecedented times in 1958 when 9 black children climbed the public school steps in Little Rock, Arkansas to attend their first day of integrated public school. And it was so contested that the National Guard had to be there. I'm sure they said that most of 1968 was unprecedented times, but especially when civil rights champion Martin Luther King Jr. and President John F. Kennedy were both assassinated. Or when the Berlin Wall went up in 1961, or when it fell in 1989. I know we said unprecedented times after 9/11, and when Barack Obama was elected, twice, and then when Trump was elected, twice, and when nationwide protests erupted across our country, again, because of police violence against black citizens. I know I had my fill of COVID unprecedented times when human contact became terrifying and all of our interactions moved behind masks and screens. And we certainly have been repeating unprecedented times like a mantra since January. Unprecedented times are the new normal, but they're not new. Every time is a new unprecedented time because we've not lived in it before, nor will we live in it again, nor are we even certain how to live in it. Which means we live our lives in constant tension between the excitement and fear of the uncertain and the uncharted. And I don't mean to reduce our current unprecedented time to cliche, because there are certainly many things happening that have not happened the same way before, and they will have lasting effects on all of us moving forward. At the same time, the past, according to Shakespeare, is prologue. And I think it was Mark Twain who said something like, history may not repeat itself, but it does rhyme. So while there is much that is unprecedented, so much without a handbook, there is also much that is reminiscent, which means we must all be more vigilant about what's being forced upon us and what's being taken away and who we are becoming in the midst of all of that. And I also know that there's periods of personal unprecedented times, which can be anything from like personal tragedy or grief or unnavigated difficulties of parenting or relationships or job, or new or recurring mental or physical health challenges, or something as simple as what's going on in my family, having your first kid enter their senior year of high school. These are all things that have unclear navigation, uncertainty on where to find the wisdom about how in the world we get through it. Maybe not unscathed, but with at least a semblance of ourselves, or maybe something better, or at least wiser on the other side of it. So in light of all of that, it only makes sense that today I want to talk about penguins. Well, kind of, or at least partially. I want to talk about penguins and Moses. Stay with me. It will make sense, I promise, I hope. I'm not a penguin enthusiast, I'm not an expert, but our friend Pastor Daniel Pugh from Christ the King Episcopal Church mentioned something back to me in January that I have been ruminating on ever since. And it's probably important to mention that Moses and the biblical writers and the characters would never have even imagined what a penguin looked like, because penguins in their region of the world they didn't encounter them, and they actually weren't written about until travel logs in 1487. We tend to think of penguins more during our winter season, and it's now almost solidly summer weather here in our northern hemisphere. But in the southern hemisphere, and especially in Antarctica, where 50% of the penguin population lives, it is currently solidly winter. Every year during the Antarctic fall, which is April-ish, the Antarctic Sea reforms ice strong enough to hold thousands of emperor penguins. And each year, those penguins return to the same location, in May or June, like right about now, to look for a mate. Emperor penguins, they're seasonally monogamous, meaning that they have one mate each breeding season, and females will lay just one egg. And the females pass this egg onto their male partner, and then they disappear across the ice toward the sea to feed for the winter, which leaves the male penguins responsible for incubating and hatching the egg, and then caring for the baby chick until the females come back. and they get to eat. So to accomplish this, the male penguin sets the egg on their feet, they cover it with a little brood pouch, and then they incubate it for 65 to 75 days, which, if you're calculating, is somewhere in the middle of August. It's a long time. Male penguins do not abandon their post, and sometimes they don't eat for up to 4 months. Penguins breed and then incubate eggs and then protect their chicks in brutally cold conditions. There is no tropical penguin honeymoon happening. It is the hardest time of the year. Temperatures can drop to negative 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and winds can reach up to 124 miles per hour. That's Category 3 hurricane range. And because it's Antarctic winter, it's also constantly dark or near total darkness all the time. But emperor penguin dads don't incubate their babies alone. They live in colonies or rookeries of between 500 to 20,000 penguins. Emperor penguin colonies can actually be seen from space. And for 65 days of incubation, and then after the fuzzy little baby penguins are born, the members of this rookery work together to survive. And one of the ways they do this is by huddling together in mass. And I'm gonna let someone smarter than me explain it. Watch this video here.
To breed in the coldest place on Earth, emperor penguins must also become part of a crowd. Their chicks are born in the depths of the Antarctic winter. Their only protection from the cold is their parents' brood pouch. But as winter storms set in, this isn't enough. As temperatures reach 40 below, even the adults' only chance of survival is to huddle together. They start to waddle with a single purpose. All converge on the same central point until a huddle begins to form. Each penguin must find a place to tuck in. But by speeding up the action, it's clear that something more organized is going on. Soon, the huddle numbers thousands, and still more keep coming. While those on the outside take the brunt of the storm, those on the inside take tiny steps that move the huddle in waves. The densely packed penguins continue to shift and rotate from the center. By keeping constantly on the move, no penguin is left permanently out in the cold.
Pretty wild, right? So emperor penguins somehow instinctually know and they recognize the urgency of their one job. And while the wind and the cold and the darkness rages around them, they're incubating through it. And at the end of winter, a happy, healthy penguin chick needs to emerge. But there's no way that they would survive without each other. Throughout the winter, each penguin has similar needs, but at different times. And they recognize that there's a time to be on the inside of the huddle and a time to be on the outside. A time to be sheltered and a time to be the shelterer. And no matter the temperature or what is raging around them, no matter where they are in the huddle, the winter may be unprecedented, but their responsibility remains the same. And eventually, the winter winds will die down, and the temperatures and the sun are going to rise, and everybody is going to eat until they are full. But until then, they have work to do together, even if it's just the most basic of survival. And it might sound a little cheesy to say, but I can't get out of my mind. And what I've been ruminating on is that humanity, we are so much the same. And it's not just because we seem so cute and cuddly. We are, as we mentioned before, in unprecedented times. And it feels like our current season is extra unpredictable and harsher and more dangerous than usual. And in so many ways, and for so many people, it is. There is a new storm every day, sometimes multiple a day. We aren't sure at this point what's going to be left when the clouds clear. And yet, we are incubating something personally and collectively. And when the seasons do change, personally, corporately, nationally, what is going to emerge? What are we going to be left with? Also, we are not meant to answer these questions or to go it alone. So there's two stories about Moses, I told you we'd get to him, found in the book of Exodus, chapter 17 and 18, that I find myself coming back to when I think about this idea. The first is in Exodus 17. It says, when Amalek came and fought with Israel in Rephidim, Moses said to Joshua, choose some men for us to go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with my staff of God in my hand. So Joshua did as Moses told him and fought with Amalek, while Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And whenever Moses held up his hand, Israel prevailed. And whenever he lowered his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hand grew heavy. So they took a stone and they put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held up his hands, one on either side, so his hands were steady until the sun set. And Joshua defeated Amalek and his people with the sword. So the Amalekites were a recurring enemy of Israel, of the Israelites at that time. And a little background, there is a lot known, there's a lot unknown, there's a lot speculated about Amalek and the Amalekites. Scholars speculate that they were one of the first and oldest nomadic groups. Some claim that they can be traced, their lineage can be traced back to Esau, as in the twins Jacob and Esau, Abraham's grandsons. The Amalekites trace their lineage to the disgraced grandson Esau, and the Israelites traced theirs to the favored grandson, Jacob. And the story said that the twins had hated and distrusted each other. They tricked each other, and they had a horrible relationship. And apparently nothing had changed over the centuries. And the Israelites at one time actually believed that they were supposed to completely annihilate the Amalekites, every living thing in their tribe, men, women, children, even livestock. And this is because of the hatred, but it's also because that there might have been this underlying belief that the Amalekites had sorcerers who could transform into animals. And so because of that, you couldn't actually be sure if they were all defeated unless everything that was living, all the animals, were destroyed as well. Now, throughout history, Christians have also labeled their various enemies as Amalekites in order to justify violence toward them and even genocide. This has happened with Indigenous Americans, Jews during the Crusades, Protestants sometimes, Catholics sometimes, even the Tutsis and the Rwandan genocide. Now this narrative in Exodus 17, it finds the Israelites in another battle with the Amalekites. And the Israelites at this time were also nomadic, so these two tribes probably ran into each other quite a bit. But it seems that by this battle, Moses is already tired, and I can almost hear him heaving this sigh as he prepares for what's coming, like he already knows. It seems like Moses also had a little sorcery up his sleeve too, although when it's our team, we like to call it divine intervention. Because whenever Moses would raise his hands, holding the staff of God, the Israelites would start winning the battle. But when we would put his hands down, they would lose. And this is one of the ways that the writers indicated to the original hearers that God was actually on the side of the Israelites. It tells you who to root for. And so it was clear what Moses had to do. And while this battle in this place might have been unprecedented, we get hints from the text that this is something Moses might have done before. He knew what to do. And as the battle raged around him, Moses tried to keep his hands up. But sometimes, even when so much is at stake, things can just get too exhausting. Moses needed people. He couldn't do it alone. First, his friends offered him a place to sit. Then, when that wasn't enough, they took matters into their own hands and they just held up his arms themselves. Sometimes we are just so exhausted by it all, whatever all is, we don't even realize that we need someone to hold us up. We don't recognize that we need a turn, being sheltered in the center of the huddle. Because there are times in all of our lives when we are the seat givers, and we are the arm holders, and we are the shelterers. We're on the outside of that huddle. And there are times in our lives when we need the protection of the huddle, and we simply need someone to hold us up because we don't have the energy to do it anymore. And the trick is knowing the difference. The trick is knowing when we need to be the shelter givers and the arm lifters, and when we need to be the sheltered and the lifted. We are not meant to go it alone. So the chapter following this epic battle, Moses gets a visit from his father-in-law, Jethro. And as one does, he spent time updating him on all the things that have been going on. They sat down to a cup of coffee and he told him about Pharaoh, and he told him about the rescue and the trips across the Red Sea and everything else, I'm sure. And the text says that Jethro was delighted to hear about all the good things that the Lord had done. And then the next day, Moses took his father-in-law to work with him. And now the Israelites, they'd been in the wilderness for a bit by this point. And as you might imagine, not everyone got along all the time. So in the midst of everything else he had to do, Moses had appointed himself as a kind of judge, a mediator, to listen to disputes and to settle things to keep the peace. And then this is what it says. Remember, Jethro's at work with Moses, watching all of this happen. This is Exodus 18. The next day, Moses took his seat to serve as judge for the people, and they stood around him from morning until evening. When his father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, he said, "What is this you're doing for the people? Why do you alone sit as judge while all these people stand around you from morning until evening?" Moses answered him, "Because the people come to me to seek God's will." Because somebody's got to do it, right? Whenever they have a dispute, it's brought to me, and I decide between the parties and inform them of God's decrees and instructions. Moses' father-in-law replied, "What you're doing is not good. You and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out. The work is too heavy for you. You cannot handle it alone." Now the work Moses was doing was good, but it was too much to handle it on his own. How many times have I heard myself say, it's easier just to do it yourself? But this time Moses didn't have a minute to breathe. Jethro went on to give suggestions about how Moses might delegate the work, pull more people in to help him, and then save himself from a stress-induced heart attack, or at the very least might make it home for dinner with his family a couple nights a week. And Moses responded in a way that I don't know that all of us might have responded when given advisement in law. He listened, and he set up a system, and he delegated his work, which was actually the first recorded shift to a functional system of justice for the Israelites. Thanks, Jethro. Moses recognized his need, not only for a group of people to help him out, but of his need to have the humility to listen to someone wiser than himself and to accept support. I wonder if Moses was relieved that Jethro came when he did. Maybe he was waiting in his own way to finally have permission to move toward the center of the huddle. Maybe he didn't even know how exhausted he was. I've been there. Or maybe it took a good amount of effort for him to put aside his pride and actually admit he needed help. I've been there too. Now, we aren't privy to Moses' journals or inner dialogue, but we just know his actions. Sometimes arms are just too tired. Sometimes the work is too heavy and we can't do it alone. Sometimes we need people to remind us who we are and to take up the work when we need a break, because there is always a lot of work. Sometimes we need to be the ones offering that to other people. So which are you? And where are you? And who are your people? Is there someone you need to be supporting? Or do you need to shift to the middle of the huddle for a while and let someone else do the heavy lifting and take care of you? And I want to acknowledge that these might be painful questions because they might not have good answers or any answers right now. Maybe you feel like you need a break and that just isn't an option right now. Maybe you don't feel like there are people to go to. And if that's the case, please let us know. We want to talk. Or maybe this season in our country or your life is the most righteous anger and fear you have ever felt in a long time or ever, and you feel like you can't not continually act on it. But lack of support and rest never leads to anything good. So who are the people who are coming alongside you and keeping the work going when you need a break? I would suggest that some of them are watching this video right now. Who do you offer strength to when things get too difficult? And who offers perspective when you can no longer see things clearly? Maybe you're shifting in the huddle a bit, and this is the season when you're the supporter. You are the people, or maybe you're the person that people need right now. People need a break, and you have the support to offer them. Also, wherever we are in the huddle, we are incubating something during these most recent unprecedented times, both personally and corporately. Who are we going to be, and what will be left when things change? Because the storms are going to die down, and there will be an end to the season in our country, in our state, in our personal lives. And when the wind dies down, something will be left. Is it something we want defining us, something we will be proud of, something that can move us forward? Because we have to ask the question, what are we giving our energy to when things are so difficult? Sometimes the only energy we can muster is survival. Some days we have enough to survive and to cultivate health and flourishing. And all of that's okay. That's why we need each other. Some days it feels good to incubate my anger like a cat's hairball that just eventually vomits its way out, usually in the worst places. I also really enjoy incubating blame. That's a really good one. I'm also great at letting self-pity simmer, or disgust and fear. But if I incubate those things like disgust, then people, rather than policies and situations, will become disgusting to me. If I incubate only fear, then I will experience people and the world as things to be afraid of. I will only be angry if I only incubate anger. But if that's all I incubate in these most uncertain times, then that is what will take the most root. And that is what will be left when the seasons change. And I'm not suggesting that anger and fear and all those peripheral emotions are bad or should be suppressed. On the contrary, they are normal and they are often healthy emotions, and they can keep us safe and spur us to action. But if they become all that we incubate, they can become part of our DNA and something that defines who we are rather than something that we just experience. And that's why people, the huddle, are so important. Friends and family and therapists and even people we meet at Crosspointe volunteering in groups on Sundays, they are often the ones that refocus and redirect us and remind us that those things, they're not the only things. The Apostle Paul wrote in Philippians 4 that whatever's true, whatever's noble, whatever's right, pure, lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, those should be the things that we keep returning our focus to. And when I'm at my healthiest, I also try to remember that all of us are future ancestors. We will be one day people that are looked at as how to get through somebody else's own unprecedented times. So, where are you in the huddle right now? Sheltering or being sheltered? Where do you need to be? Where are you on the hill? Do you need to offer support or find someone who might help hold up your arms? Who are your people and who are you supporting? Let's cultivate that. If you don't have any, where might we find some? And during these most recent unprecedented times, what are you incubating? What are you focused on? And who is offering you perspective and support? And this week, may the God of both inside and outside the huddle bless you and keep you and make their face to shine upon you and give you peace. Thanks, Crosspointe.
If you would like to know more or get connected to Crosspointe, go to crosspoint.org. If you're in need of care or assistance, go to crosspoint.org/care. And welcome home.